So hierarchical clustering, it is not partitioning. You are making bigger groups to small groups here. So produces a set of nested clusters organized as a hierarchical tree. It can be visualized as a dendrogram, a tree-like dendrogram that records the sequence of merges or splits. So if you see right side, there are points. Red ones are cluster IDs. How many clusters you see in the right side picture? Five clusters are there. How many points are there? Six. So what is the super cluster in this, which will contain all the points? Five. So 5 is a cluster, which is again union of cluster 4 and point 6. So this 5 ID, the 5 cluster ID is a super cluster ID structure. I mean, here clusters are part of it's a super clusters. So what is cluster 1? It has 2 points. And cluster 1 is part of which cluster again?
Cluster 4.
Cluster 4. So cluster 4 is union of cluster 1 and cluster 3. Do you agree that?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the same thing in dendrogram? Which one are merged to make cluster 4? See, in one cluster, 1 and 3 are there, right? They are merged, means this whatever you have, this horizontal line that tells us there is one cluster. Then that cluster 1 and 3 is one cluster. Similarly, you can say here 1 with ID. 2 and 5 is also a cluster. Then 2 and 5 and 4 together, 2 and 5, the cluster, and point 4 together are making cluster 3. Can you see in the dendrogram, they are coming together 2 and 5 and 4 to make cluster 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a hierarchical means the clusters are part of the super clusters. So what are the strengths of hierarchical cluster? Do not have to assume any particular number of clusters. The advantage is it's if you want only 2 clusters, then what clusters you can take out of this? Cluster 4 is one cluster and 6 is other cluster. Just point 6 is other cluster. So wherever you want, you can stop. So 1 and 3, whatever that is. See, what is the top in this dendrogram? You can put out 6, take out. Then remaining things will become one cluster. 6, the point alone itself will become one cluster. If you want only 3 clusters, then how do you take 3 clusters out of this? The first, from the dendrogram, what is the top one, which you which the top vertical line, top horizontal line that you will separate? What is top horizontal line in this dendrogram left side picture? Connecting 6 with other clusters, right? 6 will go out. Then you want further to divide, right? Because you got only 2 clusters. So take the second cluster, whatever is the biggest thing here. Then what is the horizontal line which you can take out? 1 and 3 are combined with the remaining things, right? 2, 5, 4. So 1 and 3 will become one cluster. 2, 5, 4 will become one cluster. 6 become one cluster. Then again, if you want 4 clusters, then you can separate 2, 5, and 4 like that. So do not have to assume any particular number of clusters. We'll just build the clustering. Then based on how many clusters we want, we can simply cut the dendrogram into that many clusters. Any desired number of clusters can be obtained by cutting the dendrogram at the proper level. They may correspond to meaningful taxonomies. So if you take NLP or something, it's some natural language, if you do these clusterings, you may get a very nice divisions for them. Example, in biological sciences, animal kingdom, phylogeny reconstruction, like that, they may fall into different topics, each cluster. How many types of hierarchical cluster is available? Two main types of hierarchical cluster, agglomerative, start with the points as individual clusters. At each step, merge the closest pair of clusters until only one cluster left. So agglomerative is nothing but we assume each point is a cluster first. If we assume each point is a cluster in this right figure, how many clusters we will get initially?
6.
6 we will get, right? 6 points are there.
Yes, sir.
Now we will see that what are the closest points. The first one, the second cluster will make, that is the individual clusters. Then we start merging. We merge the closest 2 points in this whole data. What are the closest 2 points here?
1, 3, 2,
1 and 3.
Okay, but for our eye, it looks like 1 and 3 is close, right? Or 2 and 5. So if 1 and 3 is close, then we will first make a new cluster 1 and 3 by merging 1 and 3, merging 1 cluster here. Then you have 2 clusters now. 5 clusters. What are those 5 clusters now after merging? 1 and 3 in 1 cluster. Yeah, 1 and 3 in 1 cluster. Remaining points in other cluster, right?
Yes, sir.
Then again we start merging. This whole cluster we'll consider as one unit now. There are 5 clusters. In 5 clusters, which clusters are close? Those again we will merge. Then again the question comes that how do you measure 2 is close to cluster 1 and 3? Because if it is simple 0.5, I can measure the I already know that what is proximity measure, right? Between 2 points. But here a point with the cluster we need to find out. Or cluster distance we need to find out. But the idea is first we will start assuming each point is a cluster. Then we start merging one by one. Those 2 clusters which are very close, those clusters are merged in the next iteration. Like that, we implement the merging till we remain only 1 cluster. Now the question is, how do we measure? We know that how to measure distance between points. Now we need to measure point to cluster distance and cluster to cluster distance also. Or if you assume every point is a cluster, an individual cluster, then it is enough to know how to compute the distance between 2 clusters. So if whichever pair of clusters has distance small, those clusters will be merged in the next iteration. Then 1 cluster will become less. Then in this case, you are left with 5 clusters. Then second iteration will left with 4 clusters. Out of 4 clusters which are close, those you start merging. That is the agglomerative. At each step, merge the closest pair of clusters until only 1 cluster left. So is it top-down approach or bottom-down approach in English terms?
Top-down.
Top-down or bottom-down? Bottom-up approach, right? We are assuming everything is a cluster. Then we start merging them. So you are going to the top means 1 cluster. So it is bottom-up. Other one is the completely reverse to that, top-down approach. You start with everything is 1 cluster. Then at each step, split a cluster until each cluster contains an individual point. Then how do you divide or how do you take out 1 point out of the given cluster? Because initially we assume everything is cluster, right? All points belongs to 1 cluster. Then how do you start dividing that cluster into 2 parts? Then we will see that there are different measures we need to know that which one is not same or closest to other points, or which one is completely different from others, or whatever the deviating with other points, that point should be taken out. Then the question comes that for first one, how to define the distance between clusters. Here, how to define the points, whatever we are getting, or whatever points are there in the cluster, they are not aligned with the clustering techniques, what we are, or they are disturbing, or they are not optimizing the optimization function, what we are taking to measure those clusters. We'll see that it's how we will divide, how we take out points from the existing cluster and make a new cluster separated from that. So start with one all-inclusive cluster. At each step, split cluster until each cluster contains an individual point. In the first agglomerative, in each iteration, what are we doing? The operation?
Merging two
Merge.
pair of clusters.
Yeah. In divisive?
Splitting.
Can you compare two algorithms, sorting algorithms, which will take this approach? In which algorithm we use, sorting algorithm, we use merge?
Merge sort.
Merge sort. In which algorithm we split the data into two parts, then again we start sorting? Quick sort, right? In quick sort,
partition. Yes.
Partition based on a pivotal element, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm just trying to make that it's to remember. Divisive means it is splitting, like your quick sort. Then agglomerative means you're merging. The concept is different, but at least it's a merge and split are two different operations we use for agglomerative and divisive. Traditional hierarchical algorithms use a similarity or distance matrix. So first we should get the proximity matrix between points, or that is also called distance matrix or similarity matrix. So similarity is always 1 minus distance. If you want to maintain similarity, that is 1 minus distance. So if you compute distance, then similarity matrix, you need to convert all the distances to 1 minus distance, then you will get a similarity matrix. If you use similarity, there should be high similarity to be merged. If you want to use distance, there should be small distance to be merged points. That is the common criteria for anywhere, right? Which points you merge per cluster? If they are more similar, you will merge. More similar means more similar value, right? Similarity. So if they are distant, then you want to keep them in different clusters. So if they have a very less distance, then only will merge. So merge or split one cluster at a time. So that is what in both approaches, we'll take one cluster, then either we will merge to form one cluster or divide that cluster into two parts. So agglomerative clustering algorithm, most popular hierarchical clustering techniques. There are so many packages. Let's see, whenever you have data set, immediately you can draw a dendrogram. You can see that it's how to call that package and build a dendrogram for a given data set. Then you'll get some idea that it's how these points or data is separated into different clusters. Even if you apply a classification, whatever that, to analyze the data, you can use this agglomerative clustering, provided you define that proximity matrix, distance matrix, or similarity matrix. So basic algorithm is straightforward. Compute the proximity matrix. Let each data point be a closure. Let each data point be a cluster. Each point we assume it is a cluster. Then repeat. Merge the two closest clusters. We haven't defined what is closest, right? We will define in next slides. But if we have a meaning what is closest between two clusters or what is distance between two clusters, then merge the two clusters, two closest clusters, update the proximity matrix. So your single points will be removed, and at that point, whatever you merge, if you have 6 columns, 6 by 6 matrix in the beginning, because each point is a cluster distance matrix. In the second time, you will have 5 by 5 matrix, because 2 points are merged into one cluster. You have only now 5 clusters. So cluster to cluster distance, we should update. That is what this update the proximity matrix until only a single cluster remains. We'll see that how this algorithm will work. Key operation is the computation of the proximity of 2 clusters. So the whole algorithm, to make it run, we need to compute the proximity between 2 clusters. First, we should define what is proximity value between 2 clusters, then how to compute it. Different approaches to defining the distance between clusters distinguish the different algorithms. So based on this proximity measure what we take, we will define different clustering algorithms. So starting situation here, start with clusters of individual points and proximity matrix. So usually it's there are Euclidean metrics or cosine metrics, different metrics, it's a Jacob metrics between points or data instances point means. So initially we will use that initial distance metric. Then we will have if you have 5 points, then 5 by 5 matrix will come. If you have n points, you will get n by n matrix of distances. So that is the first. Then in these distances, whichever is the smallest value, those you will merge, right, the first time. Because you are making the first cluster based on the points which are closest. So starting situation, you will have like this. There are 12 points, then 12 by 12 matrix you have. After some merging steps, we have some clusters. Means here you will have. So what will be merged here? Either this set or this one, right? This looks close to me. So I may merge this. I'll go with this. Then I'll get 11 by 11 clusters. So this matrix should be updated to 11 by 11. So after some time, we will get, that is what here said, after you start merging, okay, then we got this is a second cluster because these are close, right? Then what can be the third cluster in this? Maybe this. Okay, I'll go with this. Then I will go with this. Okay. Then if I know that the minimum distance of either point is my proximity between clusters, then the fourth one may be this. Then what is the fifth one? Which clusters are close? Even these individual points are also clusters now. Maybe this becomes another cluster right now because it is close to this cluster. Then this point to any other cluster or any two clusters close. So like that, let's see, after some time, we will get 5 clusters in some measure of the cluster distance. So after some time, we will have 5 clusters, then we will have proximity matrix, only 5 by 5 matrix. Then whichever value in this proximity matrix is small, those clusters will merge. So here, P1, P2 is merged, then P3, P4 is merged. Then P10, P11 also merged. Then P12 is merged with P10, P11, like that it's. Then if you have in the middle, how do we update this? We want to merge the two closest clusters, C2 and C5. In this C2 and C5 is one of the closest pair in this. Then and update the proximity matrix. Then C2 column, C5 column will go. A new column will come. That is the new cluster things, C1, C2, C3, C4. In other words, it's a new index. But anyway, C2, C5 will be merged. For them, you will have only one column. And what about rows?
4 rows.
One row also will become less. Then you don't need to compute the distance between C1 and C3 when you merge C2 and C5. Do you need to compute the distance again between C1, C3 and C1, C4?
No.
No. Only the merged things should be computed with all other clusters. So C2, C5 together come together to make a new cluster. So we need to compute C1 distance between C2, C5, C1 distance, C2 distance between C2, C5. So only limited computation will be there. You don't need to update all the values whenever you merge two clusters. That is also one of the things. So what are the values you need to update? These are the things, C2 union C5. So only the column and the row in which C2, C5 is there, that only to be updated. You understand what we are going to update in each iteration in proximity matrix?
Yes, sir.
the column and row in which the merged cluster present. Okay. Then there are different types of metrics to measure cluster distance, cluster to cluster distance. So that we call similarity or distance, whatever that. If you find distance 1 minus distance is similarity. If you find similarity, distance is 1 minus similarity. Okay. So there is different methods. One is the min method. We will discuss these in next slides one by one. Other one is the max. Then group average, distance between centroids. This is easy to understand, right? Distance between centroids. Provided you have a centroid for each cluster. If you don't have centroid, how do you find out centroid? Average of all those points belongs to a cluster becomes a centroid, right?
Right.
Add up all those points, then divide by how many points you are adding. Then if you have a 10-dimensional point, then 10 values you will get. Again, a new point. So other methods driven by an objective function. There is one important function that is also called Watt's method uses squared error. So these 5 we will discuss now: min, max, group average, distance between centroids, other methods driven by an objective function. The minimum, how to define intercluster similarity. So the min function, what it does is get the distance between any pair of 2 points. One point is drawn from the first cluster, second point is drawn from the second cluster. Then how many pairs you will get like that? First one can be selected 4 ways, right? One of the points, 4C1. Second one can be selected again, in this case 4C1. So 4C1 multiplied by 4C1. So how many pairs you can get? One from the first and second from the second cluster? 16. So if you take this particular point, this can be paired with 4 points here. Then another point can be paired with 4 points. So 4 by 4, 16 points you will get. 16 pairs. So all these 16 pairs distance you need to find out. Whichever distance is minimum, you will take. That is the distance between these 2 clusters. So minimum min is nothing but argmin of distance of the pairs, so that that pair is having 1 point from one cluster, other point from other cluster. So here the min distance is coming between these 2 points. Whatever is yellow arrow is shown here. You understand what is minimum distance, min distance between 2 clusters?
Yes, actually.
Take pairs, all possible pairs, one from one cluster, other from other cluster. Whichever value is small, that you need to take. What is maximum? It is exactly opposite. Take all pairs possible, one from one cluster, other point from other cluster. Whatever pair will have maximum, the max distance we will take as distance between 2 clusters. It is just opposite to min. Then the distance is measured based on the maximum distance between 2 clusters based on their pairs. Then you are getting this here. So either you can use minimum. Say minimum means even if some small similarity is there, then they become close, right? Even 1 point is close to 1 point in other cluster. Your maximum means you are saying that remaining all points will have more similarity, right? This is the maximum differing points in both clusters. What is difference between min and max? In minimum, we are taking that at least 2 points, whatever is having smallest distance, we are saying that only distances between those 2 clusters is that much. Boundary distance, in other words. In maximum, what we are saying is, if you take any other pair, they won't differ more than this. Means they will have more similarity, right? As a clusters.
Yes.
Because you are taking the maximum. Then the third one is the group average. Then you take all distances between all the pairs, take the average distance between all the possible pairs. So in this case, 16 pairs will come, divide by 16, you'll get this. This is group average. Is it clear what is group average?
Yes, sir.
Computation purpose, all are of having same complexity. Do you agree?
We need to calculate distance between 16 points in all cases.
Right. That is the computational purpose. This is all, it is same. But only thing is what you will take, min, max or group average. Distance between centroids, you get the centroid by averaging the points. We are not taking average distance between pairs here. Averaging the points first within the cluster, get the distance that is called distance between centroids. So two clusters, distance is nothing but distance between their centroids. That is called distance between centroids. Min or single link. This is also called a min or single link. The minimum distance when you take, that is also called single link. Proximity of two clusters is based on the two closest points in the different clusters, determined by one pair of points, that is by one link in the proximity graph. So they may use single link clusters, means what? You need to take cluster distance between two clusters is the min value. That is nothing but proximity of two clusters is based on the two closest points in the different clusters. So first you will get distance matrix. P1, P2, P3, whatever that is. Then if each one is a cluster in this, so which points will merge in the first step here? How do you know that it's which points to be merged from this distance matrix? Whatever is the smallest value you see, that pair, right? So where are you getting smallest value in this? Forget about it, see P3 versus P3, P2 versus P2. Anyway, we are not merging the same point to the same point. So diagonal you can remove. So without diagonal, what is the smallest value in this?
0.11. P3 and P6 or P6 and P. Oh, yeah. P3 and P6.
Yeah, P3 and P6, same point, right? And this is
Right.
yeah. So P3 and P6 we will merge here. So that is nothing but 3 and 6 are merged. Once you merge 3 and 6, how do you compute cluster to cluster distance now? Because 3 and 6 is one cluster now. Earlier you have 3 separate clusters, 6 is separate cluster. Then you need to see if you use minimum, the distance between 1 and 3, the distance between 1 and 6. Whichever is the minimum, that is the distance between cluster 1 versus cluster 3 and 6 together. Is
Yes.
it clear?
Yes.
Then 2, with 2 also you need to find the same thing. The distance between 2 and 3 and 2 to 3, 3 to 6. But the distance between 1 and 2 is simple. From this matrix itself you will get now. And 5 and 2 distance. So how many pairs we need to find out here in the next iteration? How many distances we need to find out?
8.
5 C2, right? How many clusters are you have? 5 C2. Because 5 clusters you have after merging 3 and 6. So again, cluster to cluster distance, you need to find out which pair of clusters is the closest one to merge the next iteration. Okay. Then 5C2, this 3 and 6 is merged now. Once you merge 3 and 6, so how many clusters you have now? 5. So which 2 clusters to be merged next? Whichever pair of clusters is closed, right?
Right.
Now this P3 will go, this column will not be there. This column, a new column will come. This P3 also will not be there. This will not be there. Then P6 also will not be there. P6 also will not be there. So you will have a new cluster that is P3 and P6. So how many pairs you will, only 5 clusters. So 5C2, right? Pairs is nothing but how many pairs you can select is 5C2. What is 5C2 value? 10. Am I right? 5
Yes.
into 4 by 1 into 2. Yeah, 10. 10 pairs you need to find out. So in how many pairs will have 3 and 6? 4 pairs, right? Because 3 and 6 is paired with 4 different points here. So 4 clusters. So these 4 pairs will have how many computations? Remaining pairs will have only one computation. But this 3 and 6 pair with the cluster distance between 3 and 6, any other point, how many distances we need to find out?
8.
8 distance. So 8 plus 4, 12 distances we need to find out. Like that, it's the complexity will increase. That is what I'm saying. So whenever you have more number of points, then for each point in other cluster, here in this case, only one point is there in other clusters other than 3, 6. That's why only 2, 2 you are finding out. So here the min is nothing but you need to take all the pairs from one point from one cluster, other point from other cluster, get the minimum. So that should be added or merged in the next iteration. So hierarchical clustering, minimum, how minimum will work out here. So first time what they measured here by looking at the dendrogram, look it and just explain. I'll see that how much you understood. So what are measured here first?
3 and 6.
Yeah, 3 and 6 are measured. Next,
2 and 5.
2 and 5. You should come from lowest things, right? They are mergings. Lowest vertical line, horizontal lines you need to see parallel to x-axis. Then what is merged next?
3, 6 and 2,
3,
5.
6 and 2, 5.
3, 6 and 2, 5. 3, 6 and 2, 5. Why it is not measured 3 and 4? Because 4 looks like close to 3, 6, right?
Probably 2 is closer to 3.
Yeah. Though 2 and 5, because first time you are getting a cluster 5, 2 and 3, 6, right?
Right.
After merging, and 4 and 1 are still remaining because we are using that minimum link. So 3 is close to 2. That's why we are getting a cluster like this, let's say, instead of the globular type now. So these may not, you may not get a globular type of clusters. It is proximity based. So 3 and 2 are close. That's why the whole clusters are merged now. This is merged now. Then what is merged then? According to the dendrogram?
4.
3 and 6, 2 and 5 are merged. Now 4 is merged with that. Because 4 is close to
3 probably.
3 instead of the 1 close to any other points of 5, 2, 3, 6, right?
Right.
That is 4. Then only 1 remains. The final one is this. Strength of minimum original points. Then you are getting 6 clusters. You are getting a nice clusters here. Because you are not getting a globular, right? It is based on whichever is the closest. So these things you can see that it's first closest ones comes together, then whichever is closest. So this is the advantage of the min. If you use min, if you don't have globular clusters in the original data, you should use this. Can handle non-elliptical shapes. Your k-means is always globular, remember. Do you remember yesterday's discussion?
Yes. Yes.
So here, you don't need to have original clusters globular. You are still getting very good if you use this min in hierarchical clusterings. What is the limitations of min? Original point sensitive to noise and outliers. If one point is noise, but that is close to some cluster, then that will be added to the cluster, right? So sensitive to noise and outliers. If you take 2 clusters, then you are getting like this, 2 clusters. But naturally, what clusters you will expect here?
3.
The left side round one is 1 and right side elliptic, whatever that is 1, right?
Yes.
Because of the, what is the noise now you can see between them? Those
Middle
3, 4
point.
points. Yeah, those are a small number of points you have. These points are making these points and these points are close, right? Because of these are, first this will be merged with this, then this will be merged with this. This is close to this. That's why this comes into one cluster. So that is the problem. If you have noise, then it is sensitive to noise. So if you take 3 clusters, can you see 3 clusters and 3 clusters with different colors?
1 point in blue.
Yeah, so that is making, it's not meaningful clusters here actually. That 1 point is nice there. And that 1 point is becoming, because it is not close, because these, first you will form this, these things, then the green ones have nicely formed like this, but that 1 point is remained as a cluster. Okay. So these are the limitations which we have with the min. Then if you take max is just opposite to the min. We will take the maximum distance. Proximity of 2 clusters is based on the 2 most distant points in the different clusters, determined by all pairs of points in the 2 clusters. We'll use the same distance matrix. So instead of selecting the minimum value in this table, we'll select maximum value in this table. What is maximum value in this table? 0.39 between P5, P6. .39 is maximum, right? That is what I see here in this table matrix. You see anything different? Because you are not talking anything. Other than 0.39, do you see any value more than that? So 0.39, that, so which ones? Oh, in first step, we'll take the minimum value only. Because point to point distance, right? Each distance will become maximum there. If you consider 6 individual clusters, so within the clusters, we need to get the max distance, but you have only one point. So whatever is the max distance between clusters, that is nothing but the distance between points itself. So the what is the smallest? Again, 0.11 is the smallest. So we will merge 3 and 6 only in the beginning. Then we will go by the max distances. So you'll get clusters like this, nested clusters. So initially it's saying we got this cluster. This cluster is the, how many distances you will find out in the first iteration? Am I audible or not? Hello? I don't know it's whether you are following it or not.
So you're audible, sir.
Okay. Then I am asking that in max, what we need to find out in the beginning, first iteration. We need to get the distances between any 2 points, right? Because each point is a cluster in the beginning. Then it's a, once you merge those 2 points, then we need to see that between other than this this cluster is being part of the pair. For other points, it is simply finding the distance between those points. But when it comes, the distance you need to find out 2 distances from outside point to the cluster, one of the cluster point and other cluster, per 2 distance you will get. Whatever is the maximum, that is the distance between individual cluster and cluster of these 2 points. So like that, you need to find out whatever is the min in all of those max distances you found. So that should be merged here. So first we will merge this Then again, the distances, max distance between clusters for which max distance is minimum among all, that is this. Then next, this thing. Then next, these are measured. Finally, these are measured. So strength of the max is less susceptible to noise and outliers. So here the outliers doesn't make, or noise doesn't disturb your clustering. So limitations of max, original points are like this. You are expected to have two clusters, two globular clusters, but you got these type of clusters now when you form the two clusters. So tends to break large clusters, bias it towards globular clusters. Say. So these large clusters has become as two parts here. So that is one problem here which you have. So group average is nothing but, as we discussed, you need to get all the pairs, then get the average of all those pairs. That is the distance. That is the group average. So when you use group average, your clusterings will look like this. It's what you merge. Then what are the problems with the group average? Compromise between single and complete link. Then strengths, less susceptible to noise and outliers. This complete link is nothing but max. Single link is the minimum. Min is the single link, max is the complete link. This is compromise, means you are getting a middle path. You are not considering the largest distance, or you are not considering the smallest distance as the distance between two clusters. You are getting a middle path. That's why it is called compromise. Then the strengths of this is less susceptible to noise and outliers. Limitations, biased towards, again, globular clusters. Whenever you take the average, then it is biased towards globular clusters. We have seen that it's a minimum. When you take min, that will nicely capture the clusters which are not globular. But if you take average, then it is mostly try to get the globular clusters. So another method is Watt's method. In cluster similarity, similarity of two clusters is based on the increase in squared error when two clusters are merged. So similar to group average, if distance between points is distance squared. So we will see that it's a, when you merge that point, then and you find out centroid, then you see that it's a how far it is from centroid, get the squares for which the distance is more, that increase in squared error. That is the similarity of two clusters is based on the increase in squared error when two clusters are merged. So when you merge, then again you find out SSE. When you for which pair you get less SSE, those things to be merged. Less susceptible to noise and outliers, biased towards globular clusters. Again, it also more biased towards globular clusters, but it will not depend on noise and outliers. Hierarchical analog of k-means. This something similar to the k-means, but it is a hierarchical thing. Either it is agglomerative approach or top, bottom, or divisive approach. Can be used to initialize k-means. So we have seen that yesterday in k-means, the one of the limitations or one of the problems with k-means is initializations. If you don't start good initialization, you may not get correct clusters. So how do you initialize is first you can hierarchically get k clusters, use one point from each cluster as the initial points. Then your k-means will work fine. So k-means may also use internally hierarchical k clusters first. Those k clusters are initial points for your k-means algorithm. So how do we compare this hierarchical clustering? In Watt's method, these two are measured. In all, first iteration is for all these things, it is same. In the first iteration, in all, it is same. In the second iteration, it may change. Second iteration is also same for Watt's method and group average. Even for max, it is same. Minimum also it is same. Third is also almost same for except 3, max, group average, and Watt's method. In minimum, it is changing which clusters are closest. Then in fourth iteration, there is change between Watts method and group average, also between max, and you are getting differently even for min and remaining things. Finally, then you'll get one cluster. So this you can see how they have been changed when you use different methods, which clusters are coming together. Then another graph theoretical approach is there, that is called divisive hierarchical clustering, MST. Do you remember this minimum spanning tree? What is minimum spanning tree in graphs? Nobody remember about graphs? What is minimum spanning tree?
Path connecting all the nodes in the graph with the least distance.
First of all, it should be a connected graph, right?
Right.
If it is not connected thing, we will call minimum forest something.
Right.
Different things. So connected, and each node should be visited only once. Yeah. So that is called MST. So build MST now. First, start with a tree that consists of any point. The distance is in successive steps. Look for the closest pair of points, PQ, such that one point is in the current tree, but the other is not. So we will assume first each point is a tree. Then we have these edge weights, that is nothing but distance between 2 points. Between which 2 points the distance is small, those you will merge, those trees you will merge. By taking which edge, which you can merge 2 trees, that edge weight should be very small compared with it, see, with all other merges. So in successive steps, look for the closest pair of points PQ, such that one point P is in the current tree, but the other is not. Add Q to the tree and put an edge between P and Q. So this algorithm use MST for constructing hierarchy of clusters. Compute a minimum spanning tree for a proximity graph. Repeat, create a new cluster by breaking the link corresponding to the largest distance, smallest similarity, until only singleton clusters remain. So you can also use your graph theory to make these clusters, hierarchical clusters, mainly that MST concept. So hierarchical clustering, time and space requirements. So how much of complex these algorithms? Order of n square space, since it uses the proximity matrix. So if you have n points, then you need to find out n square distances. Of course, n square by 2 because it is symmetric matrix, right? But in complexity wise, it is n square. N is the number of points. Order of n cube time in many cases. There are n steps, and each step, why there are n steps? In agglomerative, each point is a cluster, right? In the next iteration, how many clusters you will get?
N-1.
In the next step, next iteration?
N-2.
So how many steps you need to make to get one cluster finally?
N total.
So there are n steps, and each step, the size is n square. So this is order of size, because first you will get n square, second time you will get n minus 1 square, third time you will get n minus 3 square, right?
Yes, sir.
So like that, this is summation of all 1 square plus 2 square plus dash 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 n square, but at least half of them will have n by 2 square, right? See, n minus 1, n minus 2, 2, 0. What is the middle number? N to 0 middle number, n by 2, right?
N by 2.
So if at least half of the steps will have n by 2 computations, proximity computations.
Yes.
So they will have n square by 4 proximity computations. Because
Right.
you have n by 2. So n square by 4, you will have at least for half, means for n by 2 steps you have. So you get n cube by 8 at least minimum. I am removing it, see, whichever is less than n by 2. So
Right.
here itself you are getting n cube means you will get n cube complexity here for all these things.
Yes.
N multiplied by n square. So in terms of the order, not exactly we are computing the absolute complexity. It's in terms of the complexity, it is n cube. So complexity can be reduced to order of n square log n times with cleverness. We have shown that each time you don't need to compute n square proximity distances, because only one column is disturbed, right?
Yes,
One
one column and one row.
Only those you update, then you can get it to the n square log n complexity. This is very much reduction. Remember it, see? If it is 1000 and then n square log n will become only 100, 10 times less. So what are the problems with the hierarchical clustering? Once a decision is made to combine two clusters, it cannot be undone. You cannot go back because you are not maintaining that, see how to go back. So once a decision is made means once you merge two points or two clusters, then you cannot do this undone. Go back for the more number of clusters. No global objective function is directly minimized. Here we are not using any global, right? Each time we are looking which clusters are close. Means a greedy approach now. We are not looking that what is the global objective. When you make all the clusters, what should be minimized? In k-means, we are using that. The intra-cluster and inter-cluster distances should be, in one case minimized, in other case maximized. That is the global thing we are looking. Here there is nothing like global objective we have. We always will look which clusters to be merged based on pairs of clusters locally. Different schemes have problems with one or more of the following. If you take a min, then it is sensitive to noise and outliers. If you take other, then difficulty handling clusters of different sizes and non-globular shapes, except min, all others are more biased towards the globular shapes. Then if you take average, then it is breaking large clusters. So those are the problems which you have. In fact, max also is breaking large clusters. Then another technique, okay, this is the discussion about the hierarchical clustering. Any doubts regarding hierarchical clusterings? There are only two approaches. One is agglomerative, second one is divisive. In one we will merge, other one we will split. Merge or split depends on what proximity measure we'll take. There are different types of proximity measures. One is the min, max, average, or centroid distances, or ward measure. What is the ward measure?
The error, sum of squared error.
Yeah, sum of the SSE thing. Of course, we have also discussed that you can use graph theory because there are well-developed algorithms are there to find out the MSTs. You can simply find the MST. Then MST can be used to merge different clusters. So this is called DB scan. DB means density based scan. This is, it's a little bit complex to understand. So put some attention here. Again, it may become a problem for you to understand from the textbook also when compared with others. DB scan means not database scan. So don't confuse if in data science, if they ask you DB means DB here, density based scan. Density, number of points within a specified radius. So if you take a point, then EPS is nothing but some distance you say within 1 centimeter distance or 1 unit of distance, how many other points are there? That number of points are called density for the point. Say if you are given point X, then you need to find out if your fixed distance specified radius is 1, within the 1 distance, 1 unit distance from X, how many other points are falling in the data set? The density of X is exactly the number of points falling within the specified distance from that point. That is density. A point is a core point if it has at least a specified number of points within EPS. So what is core points? Means each point we need to take, we need to find out a density. If the density is more than the specified number of points, then we say the point is core point. These are points that are at the interior of a cluster. So all those points we will put as an interior points. We'll see that it's how clustering we'll make. First, we should understand in a data set, how do we define a core point? Can anybody repeat how we define a core point?
So if a point has, within the specified radius, which is user given, if that point has that amount of density, then we consider that as core point.
So first you need to take that point, get a specified distance radius, see how many points are there within that radius. If that number is more than the specified number of points, then that will become a core point. A border point is not a core point. First of all, to define a border point, first it shouldn't be a border point, but is in the neighborhood of a core point. So it is not core point, but it is neighborhood in the core point. Means when you are computing the number of points for a point, how many within the distance, means it should be within the specified distance for at least one core point. Then it is called border point. First, you will see the core points. Then what are the border points? If that point is within the specified radius for any core point, for at least one core point, then that becomes a border point. A noise point is any point that is not a core point or a border point. Means it is not having enough number of points within the specified distance, and it is also not within the radius of any core point, then that is a noise point. You understand these 3 points now? Core point, border point, and noise point?
Yes, sir.
We will see example now. So minimum points 7 here it is put, and some distance, you think that this is 1 unit distance. So this particular right side, the dark point in the first circle, center there. Then if you take a unit distance, whatever specified distance, how many points are there within that circle centered at dark point?
Along with 7.
Along with that is also count 7. So A becomes what? Core point, because the point at A, or the point this A point is having 7 points, because we are fixing that number minimum 7, so it becomes a core point. Then what about B? How many are there with the unit distance, unit radius distance at B?
4.
Is it satisfying our condition to be called core point?
No.
But is it a boundary point?
It is within the boundary of core point A.
Core point. So it is a border point. So what about, see, how many are there in radius, EPS radius?
3.
See, 3. 3 are there. So it is not a core point, right?
Right.
So how many core points we got till now?
Only 1.
1. So to see whether C is a border point, what should we say? Within the radius, when any core point is falling, right?
Right.
So that core point is not falling. So it is not a border point. So it is a noise point. There may be other things also, but we are just looking at 3 examples. So we took 3 points. One we found that is core, other one we found as a border point, other one we found as a noise point. If you do the same thing, what about this? Let's say you need to see other points, take the EPS distance circle, see how many points are falling. The same procedure can be done. So DB scan algorithm advantage is eliminate noise points. So noise points, whatever comes, you will not consider them for the clustering. So you will eliminate those points, okay? Then perform clustering on the remaining points. Current cluster label 1. So we will have only 1 in the beginning. Current cluster label 1, only 1 means which cluster we are forming, that we are writing here. So first cluster we are forming. For all core points, do. If the core point has no cluster label, then current cluster label to to be replaced by current cluster label plus 1. So whenever you find a core point which is not part of any cluster, then you are creating a new cluster. Okay.
Yes.
You have now core points, border points. So we are not worried about the border points. Anyway, noise points we removed. So first iteration, we will see that, is there any core point which is out of any clusters? Initially, no cluster is formed, right? Each core point is out of clusters. So in first time, whenever you see a core point out of clusters, then you will increase your number of clusters. That is nothing but current cluster label. Label the current core point with cluster label, current cluster label. So we will label it with 1 now. So end if for all points in the EPS neighborhood, except ith point itself, except ith the point itself, do. If the point does not have a cluster label, then label the point with cluster label, current cluster label. That is nothing but it's once you define a cluster with a core point, within that core point, you take the distance, specified distance, whatever points are falling into that, including core points, you label them with that cluster. So we will see this example. Any example is given here. Okay, we'll see this example only. So here one core point is found. Can we be able to find any other core points here? No, right?
No.
Okay, it is not a good example, but it's in first time what you see is there any core point is available in for first iteration? We'll remove noise points. So one core point is available, right, in the first iteration.
Yes.
So we will take that core point, then all of its let's say neighborhood points, whatever are there. Those neighborhood is nothing but the points falling into inside of this EPS distance. All them we will assign to the cluster 1, because this the cluster with this core point is identified as cluster 1. All those points with which are falling into unit distance or EPS distance, we will assign them the same 1. Means all these points, these 7 points will get 1, 1, 1, 1, means they belongs to cluster 1. In the second iteration, again we need to see, is there any core point? Is there any core point which is not already labeled? Suppose if you have a point here, I will draw myself a point here. So you have another point like this here, right? So then you can find 2 core points, right? Of course, it's if this is little bit then you will draw another circle here, something like this. This with this. Then with this, if you can find 7 points, 3 and 4, 7 points you can find right here with this.
Yes.
This also become core point. But when you take this first core point A, this is also labeled with 1 because it is in the neighborhood of the A. For second iteration, this point will not be available. You will see that which core points are not labeled. For them only, you start creating a new cluster. This already got cluster identification, means it is assigned to some cluster. So that is what it is said there in the algorithm. Each time, if there is a cluster available, a core point available, which is not already labeled, then you start creating a new cluster. Then again, within the neighborhood of that core point, whatever points falls, you label with the new cluster ID.
Sir, but what if a point is present just outside the boundary of core point A, but has minimum number of points?
It is a boundary point or border point, suppose. If it is a border point, it should fall into one of the core points, right? It is already gets a label.
If it is outside that boundary, but has 7 points.
That is a core point. No? If it becomes a outside.
For example, if this is the point,
Okay.
but if this point has 7 other points around it,
Okay. And some of the points common, already labeled with A.
So what happens then?
No, you will go with the points which are not labeled. That's all.
Okay.
You see the algorithm, what they say. It see, if they are, your doubt is, it see, if they have within the boundary of many core points, what label you will attach, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see that anyway. In the algorithm, what are they saying? Label the current core point with cluster label, current cluster label, right here. And if for all points in the EPS neighborhood, except the ith the point itself, do if the point does not have a cluster label, then label the point with cluster label, current cluster. So here, for all core points, do if the core point has no cluster label, then you are increasing the clusters, right? Current cluster label by current cluster label plus 1. Label the current core point with cluster label, current cluster label. Okay. And if for all points in the EPS neighborhood, except ith, the point itself, do. If the point does not have a cluster label, then label the point with cluster label, current cluster label. So what are they saying? The last step you're studying? If the point does not have a cluster label, then only you will put new cluster, right?
Right.
So it is falling into other core point, but you will see that whether it is already labeled or not. If it is not labeled, then only will label with the new core point cluster. Okay,
Right.
yeah, that is the algorithm. So DB scan core, border, and noise points here. How do you look at here? It's saying the green ones are the core points, blue ones are the border points, red ones are the noise points. Then if you use EPS equal to 10, minimum points 4, then you are getting the left side. So you will remove all those noise points first. Then you will have core points. So based on core points, if you are adding your clusters, then you are getting clusters like this. But anyway, your clustering is not complete, but at least to know that it's how do you see your core points, border points, noise points. So noise points are little bit far from normal points, right?
Yes.
Then border points are not far from the normal points, but they're peripheral points, something like that. When DB scan works well, original points, then clusters you are getting like this. Resistant to noise, this is can handle clusters of different shapes and sizes. So it will, it is not just a bias towards globular. You can find it's a different shaped sizes, different different shapes and different sizes also. So when DB scan does not work well, varying densities, when you have it, say, though because DB scan, all these are found because they don't have enough points, right? That's why no point becomes a core. Then you don't find any point as a border point. All points will become noisier, the left side, because density is less. That is the problem one, varying densities. But in reality, with a less density, they may become a cluster. Then high dimensional data is also a problem because you need to find out those points within the unit distance, those things, right? So lots of computation will come. Then high density things are also, it's becoming a new clusters here, which you see here. All is one cluster actually with the same color, right, in the originally. But when you apply this DB scan, because of the your density, they are becoming different clusters. So how to determine this EPS and min points? These are the parameters of the DB scan. What distance we need to take, how many minimum points we need to put. Idea is that for points in a cluster, their kth nearest neighbors are at roughly the same distance. Statistically, they are trying to say that it's kth nearest neighbors are at roughly the same distance. So if they form into the same cluster, their kth nearest neighbor should be at the same distance for all those points. Noise points are the kth nearest neighbor at farther distance because they are far from the data, right? Their k nearest neighbor will become very far. So plot sorted distance of every point to its kth nearest neighbor. So what you are doing is each point you will take and you will find out kth nearest distance and you are plotting that. So initially the kth nearest point for 2,800 points, it is less than 10, right? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
What is this graph? This graph, what they did is they took kth nearest distance for each point, then they are plotting. So according to this plot, if you have 2,800 points, for 2,800 points, the kth nearest distance is less than 10. For remaining points, it is more, right? Remaining 200 points, it is more. Those 200 points are having noise points, something like that. So the distance you will put kth nearest means if you want minimum points k, then you graph this, then take the kth nearest distance as the for it's how many points you define as noise, 20%, 10%, whatever that. Based on this also you can, or you can take some elbow method. Wherever you are getting a serious turn or it's a sharp turn, there you stop. So that distance should be taken as a EPS distance.
Yes.
Okay, this is how to validate the clusters. So this completes the discussion of the DBSCAN. So we have added two more things today for the clustering, hierarchical clustering and DBSCAN. DBSCAN advantage is what? DBSCAN advantages?
Resistance to noise and non-globular shapes.
Different shapes and different sizes also it captures.
Right.
Whereas in simple hierarchical, it is able to capture the different shapes but not sizes there.
Right.
Actually, yeah, this is the advantage of the DBSCAN. So these three different techniques you should implement in your machine learning toolbox if it comes to the unsupervised learning. Okay, so I'll stop it here. When we meet tomorrow, we'll complete this how to validate clusters, right? It is the most difficult thing in clustering techniques, or how to validate these clusters, which clustering technique is good, where we are getting good clusters, those things. So I'll stop this recording.